I might have been wrong about Razer's gaming mice, and I'm really excited to find out just how wrong I was, because today we're unboxing the Razer Viper V4 Pro, the latest in high-end competition from Razer for the G Pro X Superlight. It is an ambidextrous mouse in the light category with all of the bells and whistles you could ever want from a mouse, and maybe some more, as well as some major changes from Razer that make me actually want to consider their products for the first time in a long time. In the box, we have our mouse, we have our dongle that looks more like a chocolate than a technological device. I don't often get the urge to lick things, but I really want to lick this. Luckily, what I can explain is that it is good for 8,000 hertz polling rate. It has LED indicators for a multiple of purposes, which we'll get into, and it's powered via USB-C, although this could be the most recessed Type-C port ever made. On the camera, you can't even see the friggin' USB in there. You just see a hole and then a little whisper of metal reflection. They really don't want you to use a non-Razer cable. Thankfully, it comes with one, and these Razer cables are generally really high quality. This is another braided cable, just over 6 feet. Lastly, we have our instructions. Oh, great. This is actually useful, not this. We got grip tape, if you're so inclined. I think that Razer has greatly improved the feel of their plastic on their high-end mice over the last 5 years, so I would probably prefer not to use a grip tape, but that's an actual value add, which you might enjoy. Getting to the mouse itself, like all good gaming mice, it's a pretty no-frills affair. We got our 6 total buttons, including the main 2 top ones, with Razer's new switches that are rated for 1 million clicks. They're supposed to be 12% more responsive. They are loud. These are loud clicks. This is not an office mouse, and if you share an office with me and use this mouse, we will not be friends. However, I would like to feel your mouse because these are nice clicks all the way up, all the way down, very consistent, very satisfying tactility. That's a good start. How's the scroll wheel? It's an optical scroll wheel, and it feels quite solid. It's a wide shape, good rubbery feel, good tactility, and the click feels pretty much just right. I feel like the wheel wants to go a little too easy, where when I click, it almost wants to rotate every time. Not a huge deal. I generally don't use middle mouse click. I usually assign that to something else, including the side buttons, like this front and back button. They're quite small, however, it's proportioned to this mouse. I don't hate the way they feel. The click is quite good. Good tactility all across of the button, but there's something about this plastic that feels different or cheaper, or maybe it's just the way that it's raised and it's kind of straight edges. It doesn't feel as premium as the rest of the mouse. It's a little sharp on a comfortably rounded mouse. We also have our power and DPI button, which is underneath, which is a less useful spot than on top. It also allows the top to be nicer looking. We have our Type-C port and we have our LED indicator on the front. Right now it's looking for a pairing, so it's gonna keep flashing until I give it its daddy. On the bottom, we have our quite large glide skates. These are 100% PTFE, which is the silver standard of glide skates. Glass would be nice, but it's fine. What is kind of gold standard right now is some new sensor technology. Razer has the Focus Pro 50K optical sensor Gen 3. Rolls off the tongue. It's good for 50,000 DPI, 930 IPS, and 90 Gs, which is way more than you're ever gonna need. But when you're pairing with 8,000 hertz, as well as some in-class leading latency, every little bit can help and it all adds up. And when you're buying, your Ferrari, you don't want Lincoln specs, you want speed. And you know what else is really important? Weight. Let's see what we're working with, baby. 50 grams. That is not the lightest mouse in the whole world, but it is so far beyond the point of diminishing returns. 50 grams, plenty light. And that's pretty good considering that Razer claims that this is good for up to 180 hours of battery life at 1,000 hertz or 45 at 8,000 hertz. So if you want extra battery life, you can sacrifice a little performance, or you want Ferrari, you go speed. You want Segways, you go now. Saily, whether you're traveling for work or finally checking off that trip to Greece off your bucket list, You have to keep everyone at home up to date. With Saily, you just need to download an eSIM once, even if you're in multiple countries. Gone are the days from buying sketchy SIMs from sketchy kiosks near the airport. Saily is significantly cheaper than roaming fees, works in over 200 countries, and is compatible with all iOS and Android devices. And if you got any issues, they offer 24/7 customer support, as well as full refunds if it doesn't work on your device. Get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily data plans with code ShortCircuit at checkout. Download the Saily app or go to saily.com/shortcircuit today.
We're back, and I'm so excited to show you the greatest upgrade that has ever happened to Razer products. No longer do you need to download Razer Synapse. There's a freaking web app. Oh yeah, come on. It's just in beta right now, but even beta is gonna be better than whatever the we were doing before. Let's see if it works. Add device, Viper V4 Pro. Oh, thank you so much, Razer. This is the way forward. Web apps, don't make me download freaking garbage, bloatware, spyware crap. This is the future. First things first, we can change all the button assignments other than the left click, which can be problematic. We can use Hypershift so that we can basically assign an alternate key. We got our indicator LED options. The first one is gonna show us our connection quality, then our battery level, then our polling rate. You can turn them off, which is nice. But I actually think that having the polling rate is a pretty nice one. Otherwise, you can have your DPI stage on this. That makes a lot more sense than having it on the mouse, because this actually I could have within eye shot of my monitor, so I can look at the dongle and see. I actually think that's a smart upgrade. Instead of adding more weight to your mouse, put it on the dongle. Next, we can change our DPI settings. We can separate the X and Y axis. We can enable up to 5 different settings and move them around. I know that I just want 800, so I'm gonna disable everything except that it looks like you have to have 2 on, which is interesting. I would like that to be a thing that mice manufacturers don't force me to do, is have 2 profiles. I know exactly what I want, and I don't need my button to accidentally switch it partway through. That being said, I would know because my freaking light on my dongle would tell me I have the wrong settings. Next, we have our power settings. So we can turn up the speed at which it goes to sleep, or low power mode. I don't ever want you to go to sleep. And then we can calibrate. We can enable asymmetric cutoff, which will divorce our liftoff distance and our landing distance. We want it as low as possible unless we have weird tracking issues. And then we have our advanced, which enables us to have a dynamic sensitivity, which definitely could be your thing. The other thing that I like that I've seen more and more is actually a rotation setting. So depending on which angle you have your mouse, it makes adjustments based on that. I think I usually keep it around like the 7, that's a bit more, like let's say call it 9 degrees. So now the software knows that I'm holding it at an angle and is making some kind of adjustments for that. So that's pretty cool. Again, it's something you're going to get used to, not just switch over and forget that you did. Let's game. First impressions, this feels like a very, very good mouse. Makes sense. Our labs testing showed that this is about as good as it gets. Just above 0.6 milliseconds, both over wired and dongle at 8,000 hertz. That's pretty fantastic. And what we found out recently in our video where we test if input latency matters is that every millisecond of input latency does friggin' matter. Go watch that video if you haven't watched it. It's hard to comment too much on top-end gaming mice because they're all pretty darn good, but like this, I feel so connected to what's happening on screen. Kind of more impressed than I thought it would be about a Razer product. What I will say is it feels like the balance of the mouse is a little further forward than I'd expect. Like the back feels very, very light. Not necessarily a bad thing, just something to note. We also tested the sensor accuracy, and while it's not the best that we've tested, it's totally within the realm of pretty good, and you would get used to it pretty darn quick. I'd say overall, Razer's on a pretty good trajectory. It sounds like they're listening to their users. They're making a pretty solid product, and it seems like on paper at least, it should be more reliable than some of the products I've tested in the past. You're gonna be paying for all this performance. It's $160, not the most expensive gaming mouse there is, but it's above what I usually consider to be necessary for pretty top-end performance. However, that's not mind-blowing or collector price like we've seen in other Razer products. And it's a very good package. So let us know in the comments. Would you consider a Razer product? Are you like me that you were like absolutely not for quite a long time? And let us know. If you want to watch more short circuit videos, you can check out the time we unboxed the Keychron M5. It's a vertical mouse, but those innards are inside of all of the Keychron M series lineup, and those are really good value. And if you want a little more education on input latency, you should check out that LTT that we produced a few months ago. It's got some pretty cool people in it, like Baby No Money. Yeah, he's a gamer.